That means there are 4 Irish teams in the top 6, and you can't be more dominant than that. The Sal C Sharks' full-strength team slipped into a disappointing defeat to low-level Scarlets at Llanelli, while DHL Stormers are now the only local team to reach quarterfinals at home. And that's a certainty now, as 16th round of competition comfortably outstripped Chase Pack in top 4. While a year ago league stage of URC inaugural season saw 3 South African teams finish in top 5, that will not be case this year. Instead, with 2 rounds left, the Irish are dominant, with Connacht's impressive win over Edinburgh at Galway putting them in 6th place. The Vodacom Bulls have been a few suspects in their local refereeing decisions to make sure their South African team is undefeated in Ireland this weekend, but the Vodacom United Rugby Championship diary makes for pretty depressing reading from a local perspective. The Stormers draw against Leinster at RDS Arena at the start of weekend, a result that halted Leinster's impressive 19-game winning streak, means quest to finish in their current 2nd place is now entirely in hands. Despite Belfast's full 5-point win over Bulls, it was the 2 points accumulated for draw that kept Stormers ahead of Ulster. Ulster requires helpers to do them a favour. Ulster closed the gap, but that didn't stop them from having to rely on the Irish province of Munster to do them a favour. The Stormers should have no problem finding 5 players in their last game against Benetton in Cape Town, so Munster is the key to Ulster's chances. Ulster shouldn't have too much trouble in their remaining matches against Dragons and Edinburgh. The important thing about their result against Leinster means that Stormers must beat Munster at DHL Stadium to secure 2nd place, which guarantees home advantage to semi-final stage of competition. Munster is now a big deal for the Sharks, playing them when that competition resumes mid-April, in a Heineken Champions Cup fixture next weekend, and then the penultimate URC game at HollywoodBets Kings Park. The Sharks need win their remaining 2 games to finish in the top 7, which is what is needed for them qualify for next year's Champions Cup. Sharks can still 5th. Munster is currently 5th, but the Sharks still have a chance to finish in that position. Connacht is also roaming this area, of course, but although they will start as favourites to beat Cardiff at home in their next game, they will go up against it their last game away against Glasgow Warriors. Smart money will finish Connacht top 8 and make him for Irish reps playoffs, but if Sharks get their teeth, they have a good chance of getting ahead of both Connacht and Munster final standings. As Sharks continue to disappoint, boosting their momentum may be easier said than done. With all current Springboks withdrawn from national rest protocols, most experts would pick an easy win for the Sharks at Parc Y Scarlets. Instead, it was home team that beat Bulls there 2 months ago, performing similarly with their ability to absorb pressure and then strike that propelled them to an impressive victory when given opportunity. Conclusion underlined the need for Plumtree at a play that once again underlined how important it was to the Sharks that John Plumtree, who courting his return to Durban after a 10-year hiatus, signed the dotted line. The Sharks have too many key players to lose to a team like the Scarlets, and once again they are tactically defeated. Just like case where their no-boxing team managed to make their way back into competition late in game against Stormers Cape Town recently, game had too many critical phases where Durbanians were just playing dumb rugby. They have star players, but their build is weak, and after many years of coaching the Sevens, he desperately wants Neil Powell to be head coach in his first season in the 15-man game. The good news is that next weekend's Champions Cup match against Munster offers an immediate chance to rectify the situation and get back to normal, so the Scarlets' outcome may not be good news for visitors. But while Sharks the players and have home advantage, they've been disappointed too often for their fans to feel completely confident in their luck. They will have get it right though, or season will be classified as a disaster, and the Sharks cannot afford to miss out on their Champions Cup qualifiers given the financial strength they have. Do Equity Partnership. American MVM Investment Company. Champions continue to mix. Stormers have yet to finalize stock partner, but continue to confuse on the field and might think they should have left Dublin with a win, beating Leinster if hadn't plotted against them on few occasions. As it happened, The draw confirmed that Leinster would finish on pole and they retained their season's undefeated record, but the Stormers put Leinster questions that hadn't been asked before. Yes, Six Nations players were not in lineup, but Leinster team was not entirely second series combination. Stormers and Sharks had beaten on South African soil last year, and everyone knows how strong is no matter what player it is. They took the field. And while Stormers got their boxing back for game, Sharks' result later in weekend was an indication that it takes time for players who haven't played in a while to recover from pass. Players like Damian Williams had a quiet game after 10 weeks of rest, but if these two teams meet again in the final, it is unlikely to remain as quiet as before. The result will inspire confidence, of course. If these teams meet in a final, Leinster will start the favourites. They don't brag about their impressive records and become favourites no matter who they play. However, the Stormers made sure that they would not at least go to a possible comeback game feeling utterly scared by drawing in the RDS Arena. They should be happy with the result, because before that they were playing with team that won 19 games in a row and most of them quite comfortable. Stormers will have learned few lessons from the game as well. For start, against Leinster, if you give up possession, you can't get it back in a hurry, and there were too many examples of Leinster's failed defensive lineup leading to crucial attempt at half-time, where Stormers made mistakes. He presented the balls to his opponents. Ultimately, the draw was the fair result of a massive battle between two good teams that showed they deserved their top two positions. Bull books made a difference, but they were robbed at halftime of Ulster game. It looked like Bulls would join Stormers to stem Irish momentum. Wave Nation was riding after Ireland's victory in Six Nations. Halftime stats all supported Bulls, who picked up more from the two returning boxers, Katley Arends and Kainan Moodie, than other two South African teams to which international players returned. While Bulls had previously dominated game but struggled to score, in this match Arends and Moodie brought necessary sharpness and made all difference. But there are many reasons why it's difficult to win at a place like Kingspan Stadium, and Ilrailu's dubious yellow card early in second half was probably the turning point of game. Even with a team warning, too much rugby had been played since the Bulls were last in the red zone and there had been interference at halftime. Weird yellow, then came even more bizarre yellow card for Bismarck du Plessis. Bismarck du Plessis really did nothing to deserve sanction on his clean exit from the Ulster fly half, and that was game. The Bulls' agony was exacerbated by late penalty, which deprived them of a bonus point, the least they deserved, for their efforts, leaving them in a hole as they placed 7th, just ahead of Sharks. The Bulls' remaining two games are against Zebra, which they must win, and then against Leinster. They should be happy with Leinster scoring points against Stormers, as securing the top position makes it more likely for Leinster to lead a weak team to Loftus. After saying that, as we mentioned earlier, there is no such thing as a weak Leinster team, and the Bulls will be playing to survive in that final league game. Lions can overcome Bulls or Sharks currently. The Sharks and Bulls can even be surpassed by the soaring Emirates Lions, who in Treviso beat Benetton in a dazzling 3-try blast. The Lions have now beaten the Glasgow Warriors. Bulls in back-to-back games at home and Benetton away have a real shot at reaching their top 8 goals. Like the Bulls, it's Leinster who only got in their way when their slab leaders arrived in Johannesburg on March 15th. The Lions could treat this match as a final as they finished against Zebra and shouldn't have too much trouble dealing with the Italians. Weekend Vodacom United Rugby Championship results: Zebra 30, Cardiff 34, Leinster 22, DHL Stormers 22, Herringbones 37, Dragons 19, Benetton 28, Emirates Lions 32, Connacht 41, Edinburgh 26, Reds 32, Cell C Sharks 20, Munster 26, Glasgow Warriors 38, Ulster 32, Vodacom Bulls 23. Remaining matches for SA teams: Stormers Munster, Benetton; Bulls Zebra, Leinster; Sharks Benetton, Munster; Lions Leinster, Zebra.